What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. For those of you who have been following this CNC plasma table build, you've been waiting quite a while for this video. We've had a few bumps in the road. Let me explain what those were so that if you guys decide to do this, you can avoid those hurdles. Hopefully have a more enjoyable experience than I have had so far. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This has been somewhat miserable for me, especially with the timeline that I'm trying to keep. Stresses me out that this is slowing me down. I think we have reached the point where things are going to go a little bit more smoothly. We can get this done and move on to the exciting part of building the 73 Viper swapped Dodge Charger. This build has been neglected for the past few weeks as I build this plasma table. As soon as we get this complete, we can hop back on here and I will continue the build series on this. If you guys are interested in following the progression of this build, make sure to check out our Viper swapped Dodge Charger playlist, where we have the first video in the series where we cut up this chassis to fit this massive 8-liter Viper V10. Before you go and watch that, we've got a lot to talk about on this CNC plasma table. If this is something you're thinking about doing, make sure to watch the whole video so that you don't miss any of the details that I did and end up in a rough spot like I am. Let's hop back over there and I'll tell you why. Before I get into all of the issues that I had here, I do want to say the main reason for my problems is my own lack of due diligence and research before I began. I tend to like to just start doing something and find out the problems as I go, because in the past I've spent a lot of time researching stuff on other projects and not getting a whole lot done just to figure out that it was simpler than I thought it would be. With this project though, that was not the case. Machines like this are very complicated, require a lot of attention to detail and multiple facets of their function in order to get them to work at peak performance. If you're looking for something that is super accurate, fast, and won't take up a lot of your time, do not build a plasma table. Buy a Langmuir Systems and a cheap plasma cutter from Everlast. You'll probably spend $2 to $3 grand more on the whole package, depending on the size that you get. It will save you an incredible amount of time. The only person I recommend build their own is the person who is interested in the process of building them, interested in learning how they work, just wants to be able to say that they built their own. The cost of this table is less than an equivalent size of a Langmuir Systems, but not by much, and with the amount of time that I have into this, will not be worth it in my opinion. If you're still thinking about building one of these tables, that's great. Stick around and I will save you a ton of research, time, and money. My first struggles were in building this water pan. As you can see, it is not very flat. This is a result of my not having a flat surface to build it on. Being that not a lot of people have a flat surface this large, that may be a deal breaker for some of you. Because of this flatness issue, I was required to spend a bit more money on bracing for the underside, and I still will have to add more because it is still not flat enough. I will get it flat. Like I said, it's just going to require a lot of extra time and money. If this is something you plan on doing, make sure that you account for having a way to keep your pan flat. The largest issue that I had in building this plasma table, again, partially due to my lack of research, I purchased plans from a YouTuber that I have mentioned in previous parts that, from what I can tell, was the wrong person to rely on for good information. I want to be careful about what I say here because I don't know this guy. I haven't spoke to him, although I have reached out to him and haven't heard back. I don't know his intentions. I can't say that they were bad. From my point of view, it looks like he doesn't care too much about the products that he puts out. He's just trying to put something out there and make a little bit of money, and he's not super worried about the experience that you have, which goes against my beliefs of running a business and making informational content. I'm not going to harp too much on being angry with this guy. It's kind of just the way it goes, and I should have done more research. I do want to help you guys to avoid the issues that I have had with him. So I would say do not purchase plans from him, and I'll tell you a lot of the reasons why. The first issue was with blueprints and DXF files for laser cut parts. The gantry and the Z-axis had files for all this laser cut stuff that came with the plans that you purchased from him, and that was great, other than some minor details which I'll get into later. In what was essentially a sales video for these plans, he promises that DXF files will be available in the plans for these 3 center support strips. I quickly found out that there were no DXF files for these strips, and so I had to make them by hand. Not super difficult, although it did take a ton of time. I talk about this in the previous video in this series. It was not fun, and DXF files for them would have saved me probably a whole day. I don't remember if he claimed to have DXF files for these. They were not in there. I have to make all 30 of these also by hand. I actually plan on just making a few of them so that I can lay a sheet on here and have the plasma table, once it's complete, cut the rest of them for me. That'll be like my test fire of the table. After reading through the comments on the private video that you received the link to when you buy the plans, I realized that there were multiple people addressing this issue as well. There were no responses from the creator, only responses to positive comments, essentially just of people saying that they bought the plans and he liked the comment. He did answer a few simple questions from people, like what gear racks to buy. That was also a lack of his information from the video, and the information that he did give in the video about the gear racks was different information than he put in the comments. So I had to take it upon myself to ask other people what the proper gear racks were. The other issue is with blueprints and just the information in the plans. It seems like there were a lot of details left out. As someone who works with blueprints every day at my day job, I know the difference between a simple oversight that is something that's easy to miss and someone who made the blueprints that just didn't really care about putting in the effort to make a comprehensive guide to building the parts that they are advertising. Like I said, I don't know if that's the case, but from my perspective, that's what it seems like. I don't want to make accusations when, like I said, I've never spoken to this person. Could be a very nice person and just made a mistake. Unfortunately, from the things that I have told you guys about, I think we have pretty damning evidence that that's not the case. Seems like maybe he's just kind of out for himself and not trying to provide true value and a truly quality product. For the DXF files that are included in the plans, there's not much good to be said about them either. The legs for the gantry so far have been all right. This is the Z-axis that will move side to side on the gantry. This seems to go together well. This hole is off center from these 4 bolt holes. This is where a motor would mount. It's not in the correct position, so I'm going to have to cut this guy off of my Z-axis here, redesign it in CAD, and order a new one. Not only is it off center and won't line up with the rest of the parts, but since this hole is also off in reference to the bolt holes, you can't even line the motor up and bolt it on and then just move this to line up with the rest of the parts. Another problem similar to that one, these brackets, for some reason he got it right with getting the motor to line up on these guys. However, as you can see, these holes do not line up when they are bent. That is a result of a design issue in CAD. He didn't make this tab long enough to account for the loss of material in the bend, which is, if I do say so myself, a rookie mistake. You might think, oh, well, that's not a big deal. Maybe he didn't have that issue. Maybe you did it wrong. Well, you can see in the video, and he doesn't address this, that he had to cut these tabs off and weld them on to extend them a bit, and he doesn't tell you anything about that. Even though he clearly noticed this problem in his own build, he didn't take the 5 minutes to edit the DXF file so that it would line up and his customers wouldn't have this issue. These things could all be little mistakes, but since he uses all of these same parts, he must have had them cut from the same files, didn't bother to fix the issues that he had or mention that they were there, and lack of care about your work, not only your work, but the work that you're selling to other people, is just laziness and really unfortunate, really sad to see. This could be a really awesome product if it were given a bit more attention to detail and care from the person who created it. And now for the final issue before we get to the solution. These are the linear rails that were recommended by the creator of these plans, which makes me hesitant to trust them, but it seems like this is about what most people use. He only provides links for these products in the description of the public YouTube video. He does not provide quantities. Many of the links are expired or take you to something completely different, so that was pretty shoddy as well. These parts should be okay. The motors that he linked should be okay. I was lucky enough to find out from some people on Facebook that the electronics that he came up with to control this whole system were severely lacking in quality and sophistication. So let me walk you guys through that, which will lead us into our solution. I want to start off by saying I also have no clue how the electronics and the computerization of these system functions and works. I'm not a computer guy. I can do CAD and that's about it. My skills are welding and fabricating. Don't ask me any technical questions. I will just give you the basic things that I noticed on my own and that people later explained to me. The products that he listed are all off of Amazon. The control boards and stuff like that are the simplest form. Many of them are only a couple of dollars. If you do a quick Google search on them, have a lot of issues with even connecting them to your computer and getting them to function. That is something that scared me right off the bat, again, because I'm not very good with computers. The issues that were later explained to me by more educated and experienced people in this field is that the breakout board, which is the little red square board that he uses, is USB controlled, meaning like a USB cable that you plug into your computer, which is a bad option for a CNC plasma table where there is lots of electromagnetic interference, or EMI. Another part that he uses that has this same problem is the wiring that he uses. He gives you no information on the wires that he uses. He may have not used the correct wires because it is essential that they have an EMI shield inside of them to protect them from that electromagnetic interference. So either he didn't use them or he didn't tell us that he did. A lack of detail seemed to be a common trend. He also left out the size of the wires, how much we would need, and links on where to get this wire. I had to resort to other sources to figure out what I needed, and I still at first was only told the size, not that it had to be electromagnetically shielded. I didn't know the lengths to buy, so I just bought a big roll, ended up returning it because I went to the better option that I will be telling you guys in just a minute. The final issue, before I get to the solution, he claims in the title of the video the whole build cost him $750. I originally thought that was a red flag. As I got into it, I was like, wow, stuff in his country must be a lot cheaper than it is here. And at this point, I realized that that is just not true at all. I will admit my table is a little bit bigger than the one that he built, but not by much. At this current stage, not including the plasma cutter, I'm into the frame, the water pan, and the electronics about $3,000. And keep in mind, this is building things exactly to his plans, buying the parts exactly that he linked to buy, and that's what it's come out to. He also didn't list a lot of those parts in his parts list. He just bought them and showed them in the video, but didn't link them. So maybe he wasn't counting those. I'm not really sure. To sum this all up, the issue with these plans is that the number of details that are missing makes the $60 price of the plans not worth it. The materials that are used are so low quality that even though you may get a working result, it probably won't stay working for very long. Lastly, the advertising of the price and what is required to get the result that he did seems to be grossly inaccurate. The more I talk about these issues that I've been going through, the more annoyed I get with this situation. So on that note, let's move to something a little bit more positive, and I will show you guys the solution that I have come up with or been introduced to finish out the electronics and get this thing working and have a more reliable final product than I would have from using his electronics. The products that I will be using from him are a modified version of his gantry and Z-axis, a similar but not identical design to his water pan, a very similar frame but with a little bit of customization to help with the flatness of my water pan. This frame is such a simple concept that you can pretty much come up with it watching my video. The only thing that you have to be careful of is your overall dimension. It has to be sufficiently larger than the size of sheet you want to be able to cut, because the gantry and Z-axis can only move so far left and right and forward and back on the table, so you will lose a few inches. For reference, in my case, the table is about 10 inches larger than the sheet size that it can cut, so I would recommend at least 10 inches, maybe a foot. I only want to be able to cut 4x8 sheets. I just figured why not make it 5x10. I have plenty of extra room, and I can even cut a little bit bigger than 4x8. Add 10 or 12 inches depending on your gantry design and you should be all right. Let's jump into the mechanical parts and the electronics that I will be using. As I mentioned, I will be using these linear rails with these sliders on them. The gantry will ride on these, and so will the Z-axis. There will be more on the gantry that the Z-axis slides across, and I will be using 1.5 mod gear racks from McMaster Car that will mount to the bottom here, similar to his design. These are the stepper motors that I will be using. These are NEMA 23 600 ounce motors, and I will be using a 15 tooth gear on these for them to engage with the gear racks. I guess in order not to be hypocritical, I will link all of these parts down in the description with quantities of what I use, so that if you guys decide to do this, you can find this stuff more easily than referencing the video that I had to reference. And if you guys have any questions at all, please drop it down in the comments. I will definitely actually answer you. I wouldn't make this video if it wasn't going to help anyone, so I've got to be willing to help you as well. I'm going to probably just quickly go over this stuff. You'll see me assemble it. I'll link the parts in the description. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll get back to you, instead of spending a really long time trying to recall everything that I'm using. So we will skip right now to the parts that I am substituting to control the movement of this plasma table. So in my Facebook CNC Plasma Table group searches, I came across a few people who had the same issues with these plans and took alternate routes, and one of them was a person I found on YouTube. His name is Vince, and his channel is Corvette Guy 50. He has an eBay store where he sells plasma table controllers and other electronic equipment. He I believe is an engineer for this kind of stuff. So this is what he does for a living, and he does some very nice work. Like I said, I don't know much about this electronic stuff, but just from the appearance of quality of his work and from what I've spoken to him, he is very skilled and very knowledgeable. Let me show you guys what he supplies compared to what I would have been using here. Then we will be getting his product in and installing it on the table and making it work. That may be in a separate video entirely. We will see. But first, let's check out what he does. So what you guys are seeing here is a frozen frame of the advertisement video for what I was going to build. This is that USB controlled breakout board that is not up to the task of doing what it needs to do. This big mess of wiring with weird connectors and unspecified wire sizes and cheap parts off of Amazon. I can't really speak to the specifics of what's wrong here, but you can see the principles of quality. I do know that this is a problem being USB controlled based off of the information that I've gotten from people with more experience in the CNC plasma field. Let me show you what Vince has to offer in substitute. So this is one of Vince's control boxes. I believe that this is not actually for a plasma cutter. This is for other CNC controlled, maybe a router or something like that. But it's, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vince, if you're watching this, I believe this is the same concept of what I'm getting from him. You get your motors, which are those NEMA 23 600 ounce motors. May not be the best choice for the plasma. You can see the principles of quality here. Everything is routed nicely, mounted correctly. It's organized, it's simple. I'm sure it's engineered to be easily serviceable. I know he says that things come labeled and it comes with warranties and support for setup, for service, and guides on everything that you need to get this working on your machine. Just right off the bat, looking at it, you can see it's a better option. I do want to be transparent. I have not used this system yet. I have not run a plasma table with this system. I do not know that it will perform. Just looking at this, getting the same introductory experience from Vince that I got from the video of what I was originally going to build, there's a lot more security, a lot more information, and a lot more detail from Vince than there was from the video that I originally was going off of. And I plan on making more videos updating you guys on my experience with this product. As you can see, it is not cheap. The one that I'm getting is around $1,700, $1,760 I believe it was. They are customizable to your setup, what you need, your specifications. So yours may be different, it may be less, it may be more, depending on what you want. I am gonna go for it and I'm gonna install it. I'm gonna wrap this video up for what I've covered here. I know there's not a lot of action in this video, just a lot of talking and information, but I hope it's information that's useful to you guys. I will definitely, my next video will be installing this, maybe some more content from Vince, some more and better and more professional information from Vince, and then my install experience, my user experience, and probably more videos in the future of how it's holding up, if I have issues with it, how that support and servicing, how that all works out. Is it expensive to maintain? Stuff like that. I think it'd be really helpful for you guys to have some more information on building one of these that's just very straightforward and not, you can do this, or this, or this, or this. I don't know shit about this, so I'm gonna try it and see what works and what doesn't work and tell you guys what works and what doesn't work. Not to say that there's other things that can't work or could work. I'll show you the method that I take. If you want to use it, you'll know that it is at least one reliable method. Wish me luck in this being a good solution to my problem. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more about the process of building a DIY CNC plasma table, check out this video next.